Hillary Clinton sat in the green room of a popular Washington studio, her laugh ringing out as the producers adjusted the cameras. The laughter was genuine, or at least it appeared to be. She had just been shown a clip of Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana delivering one of his trademark witty barbs on the Senate floor. His southern drawl, deadpan delivery, and knack for weaving sharp criticism into folksy metaphors had made him a household name in political circles. But to Hillary, it was more amusing than intimidating. "Really?" she said between chuckles, glancing at the young staffer holding the iPad. "This is supposed to be serious statesmanship. He sounds like a character out of a Mark Twain novel, except less clever." The staffer laughed nervously, unsure if he should agree or stay neutral. Hillary leaned back, shaking her head as if dismissing Kennedy's entire persona. But what Hillary did not know was that the laughter she let slip in that quiet room would not stay contained. Clips of it were soon circulating, strategically leaked by someone in the building. By the time she walked onto the stage for her interview, social media was already buzzing. "Hillary Clinton laughs at John Kennedy." When John Kennedy himself heard about it later that evening, he didn't fume. He didn't lash out. Instead, he leaned back in his worn leather chair in his Senate office, folded his hands across his chest, and grinned. "Well," he muttered, "if Mrs. Clinton wants to laugh, I'll give her something worth laughing about." The following week, Kennedy appeared on a live town hall broadcast. The event was meant to be a straightforward discussion about economic policy, but Kennedy had prepared something different. The moderator asked him about Hillary's laughter, almost as an afterthought, but Kennedy seized the moment. "You know," Kennedy began, his voice dripping with that Louisiana charm, "when I heard Mrs. Clinton laughed at me, I didn't take it personal. She's entitled to her chuckles. But I'd like to remind her, and maybe all of America, that laughter don't put food on the table. Laughter don't lower the price of groceries. And laughter certainly don't fix what's broken in Washington." The audience clapped. Kennedy leaned in closer, dropping his voice to a near whisper before delivering his punch. "Now, Mrs. Clinton spent decades in politics. She's had her chance to fix things. If the best she can do now is laugh at folks trying to get something done, maybe that tells us more about her than it does about me." The crowd erupted, and the clip traveled fast. Commentators across the spectrum played it on loop, calling it a masterclass in rhetorical jujitsu. Kennedy hadn't just defended himself, he'd turned Hillary's laugh into a symbol of elitism, of the Washington establishment dismissing ordinary voices. But Kennedy wasn't done. 2 days later, he released a video online, sitting on the porch of a modest farmhouse, dressed in a plain button-down shirt. In the background, chickens clucked and a dog barked. He looked straight into the camera. "Folks," he said, "I don't mind being laughed at. I've been laughed at all my life. I've been called simple, country, even backward. But you know what? Every time somebody like Mrs. Clinton laughs, I remember who I'm speaking for. I'm not speaking for the fancy crowd in Georgetown. I'm not speaking for Wall Street bankers. I'm speaking for the farmers, the teachers, the small business owners, the truck drivers. People who are too busy working to sit around and laugh at others. And if she wants to keep laughing, well, that's fine. But I'll keep fighting." The video went viral, viewed millions of times within hours. What began as Hillary's casual laughter now snowballed into a cultural moment. Memes popped up everywhere, Hillary laughing on one side, Kennedy standing tall on the other. The phrase, "let her laugh, we'll fight," trended for days. Behind closed doors, Hillary's team panicked. They had underestimated Kennedy. They thought his folksy style was just an act, something to smirk at. But Kennedy had weaponized the laughter, spinning it into a narrative of elites versus everyday Americans. The next week, Hillary agreed to a high-profile televised debate-style forum where Kennedy would also appear. The organizers framed it as a national dialogue, but everyone knew it was being marketed as Clinton versus Kennedy. Ratings were expected to rival a presidential debate. On the night of the event, the stage was set with 2 podiums. Hillary walked out first, polished and confident, her blazer sharp, her smile carefully measured. Moments later, Kennedy strolled out, his gait unhurried, his tie slightly loose, as if he'd just walked out of a church potluck instead of onto a national stage. The moderator opened with a question about government accountability. Hillary launched into a detailed, policy-heavy answer, citing numbers, studies, and international comparisons. Her words were sharp, intellectual, and precise. The audience nodded, some impressed, others slightly overwhelmed. Then it was Kennedy's turn. "Now, what Mrs. Clinton just said," he began slowly, "was impressive. I think half of America probably needs a dictionary to keep up. But let me tell you a story. Last week, I went back home to Louisiana and talked to a grocery clerk named Betty. She works 12-hour shifts and can barely afford rent. Now, Betty don't care about international comparisons. She don't care about 30-page reports. She wants to know why her paycheck don't stretch far enough. And if Washington can't give her an answer, then maybe Washington's the problem." The audience roared, not just in applause but in visceral connection. Kennedy had taken Hillary's intellectual authority and reframed it as disconnected elitism. Hillary smiled tightly, trying to hold composure, but the cameras caught the flicker in her eyes. The debate went on like this for nearly 2 hours. Hillary dominated on facts and history, but Kennedy dominated on heart and relatability. Each time she laughed or smirked at one of his folksy remarks, the crowd shifted more toward him. By the end of the evening, it was clear, Kennedy had not just survived the clash, he had owned it. Pundits the next day declared it a stunning political theater that shifted the national mood. Hillary's laugh, once harmless, had become a symbol of everything her critics accused her of: detached, dismissive, and elitist. Kennedy's response, on the other hand, elevated him from a regional figure to a national one. Overnight, he was being whispered about as a future presidential contender. The story dominated headlines for weeks. Saturday Night Live parodied Hillary's laugh, late-night hosts replayed Kennedy's porch video, and everyday Americans shared their own stories online about being laughed at by elites. And in the middle of it all, Kennedy gave one more speech that sealed the moment. Standing before a massive crowd in a small Midwestern town, he raised his voice with conviction. "America doesn't need more laughter from people who think they know better than us. America needs leaders who will listen, who will fight, and who will never, ever think they're too important to be laughed at themselves. I don't mind being the punchline, because I'd rather be laughed at for standing with you than applauded for standing with them." The crowd roared like thunder. What Hillary had dismissed with a chuckle, Kennedy had transformed into a movement. The laughter that was meant to belittle him instead became the spark that stunned America, leaving the nation talking, debating, and rethinking what leadership truly meant. And for the first time in years, Hillary Clinton realized she wasn't the one shaping the narrative.